night on the outside here in downtown St. Petersburg, but that's of no concern because we're playing in Tropicana Field. That's inside the dome here in St. Pete. Opening game for the Reds of a 3-game series and the kickoff to a 7-game road trip through Tampa, over the weekend to D.C., and 1 game in St. Louis. Hi again, everybody. Alongside Chris Welsh and Jim Day, I'm Tom Brenneman. Welcome, as always, to Reds Baseball on Fox Sports Ohio. Interleague play. We've already seen the Orioles. We, of course, have already seen the Toronto Blue Jays and the New York Yankees. Now, this is a team that believes Tampa Bay, they're as good as anybody in their division.
Well, they're normally the team looking up at the rest of those teams you're talking about, especially the Yankees and the Red Sox. But this year they feel like they've got something going. And, of course, with the rest of the division struggling just a little bit, they're able to get it done. 2 games over 500 right now. They're 3rd place in the American League East after falling all the way back last year and having a horrible year where they were in 5th place. But they're hitting the home run ball. They hit a bunch of them yesterday, 5 against the Tigers to be exact, including a grand slam.
Take a look at some of the power they have in this lineup. We know about the Reds having 4 players with 10 or more home runs. These guys have 5 of them.
You know what this tells me? These guys are swinging for the fences, and they do. They strike out a lot, they walk a lot, and they hit a lot of home runs. This isn't a small ball kind of ball club. This is a ball club that goes up there ready to lay out the lumber.
All right, let's talk about tonight's pitching matchup. We begin with the Reds, and he's seen the Rays many, many times, having spent so much time in the American League, and that's a right-hander, Scott Feldman.
Well, Feldman, you know, has spent a lot of time in the American League, and sometimes you take these numbers and they say, hey, this really means something. I'm not so sure it really does for Feldman. I mean, it's been a while since he's faced them. What I can also tell you is that Feldman now is throwing the ball pretty good. This year, even though he's 5-5, playing for a ball club that's not all that great right now, he knows, however, his responsibility as the most experienced pitcher in the pitching staff. Got to get out there and give the team a few innings tonight and go deep into the game. That means he's going to need that curveball of his working well.
Jake Odorizzi is a starter, and he's pitching very well here of late.
Well, he pitches really well at home. On the road, not so well, like his last time against Toronto. But here at home, he's been really, really good. And in interleague games, he's been outstanding. He's a guy that will walk a lot of batters. You're going to see a high fastball a lot. And he's also susceptible to the home run ball. We'll see if the Reds can center him up and see what happens on a game that could have some offense.
All right, when we come back, we'll check in our main man, Jim Day, in front of the Reds' third base side dugout. Zach Cozart on his way to the disabled list, but that's not the only move.
Here in St. Petersburg. Zach Cozart, we've known for a while that he was battling a quad issue. He didn't want it out there, tried to play through it, but it's the end of the line as far as that goes because he's trying to beat out a single last time he played, and when he's running, you can see him laboring right there. If you watch the Reds closely, you've noticed that he hasn't been able to sprint. But he tried to sprint to beat out a single, and it really re-aggravated the injury. He was placed on the 10-day disabled list with that quad issue today. In fact, it was the one of series of moves. Bronson Arroyo placed on the 10-day disabled list as well. And here comes Jesse Winker again. He'll make his first career start up from AAA and up from AA. Ariel Hernandez, the right-handed bullpen guy who had a very nice call-up earlier on this season. As for Bronson Arroyo, he talked a little bit about it yesterday, reiterated it today. It could be the end of the line with his shoulder.
It's not the way it was before I had surgery on him, but, you know, it's just the way it is. So there's really nothing I can do. We're going to probably grind out the rest of the year, and I don't see myself ponying it up next year. I have no idea. Me and Brian really haven't flushed through the whole thing, but I just know that, you know, being a guy who's going to take the ball every 5th day and try to get through the next 3.5 months is just not going to be a possibility.
Surgery not an option, not many options. He'll be on the disabled list. Will stay around the team if they need a spot start, maybe somewhere down the road, maybe a spot bullpen appearance. But as far as a starter, he is done as far as that goes. Back to the American League. First of 3 with the Rays. Tom and Chris are next.
A field in St. Petersburg, Florida. Let's take a look at the Reds starting lineup presented by Menards under manager Brian Price. Billy Hamilton, Scooter Gennett at second base, Votto at first, Duvall in left. It'll be Suarez at third, Schebler in right. Jesse Winker just brought up from the minor leagues. He's a DH. Tucker Barnhart catching. And Peraza with the injury to Cozart will be playing regularly at the shortstop position. Jake Odorizzi, 4-3, making his 13th start. Bunted right back to the pitcher, and it's 1 pitch and 1 out.
That makes it easy on the start right there. You get 1 pitch, 1 out. A little pop up back to you from a bunt. 12 starts on the year. Odorizzi had 175 innings or so last year. That was a career best for him. 4-3. His earned run average over the years that he's pitched here in Tampa Bay, always around the mid 3s, the high 3s. He doesn't strike out a lot. He does walk a few batters, and he's susceptible to some home runs. He throws a lot of high fastballs right across the top of the strike zone.
Well, you can't get any easier than that first pitch of the game, and that takes care of Billy Hamilton. So now to be Scooter Gennett. And he looks at a strike. Home plate umpire tonight. Long time Major League umpire Tom Hallion. Phil Cuzzy at first. Vic Carapazza is down at second base. And Scott Shearwater just followed us from Cincinnati, and he'll join this crew here tonight in Tampa. Heck, maybe he'll just jump on a charter and go with us on to D.C. and for one game in St. Louis.
You never know. I don't think he'll be behind the plate in this series if you're starting off at third base. I think maybe there'll be some happy faces about that.
Taken outside, that'll go to 2 balls and a strike on Scooter.
Including Stu.
Including Stu, indeed.
You know, when you get both teams barking at you a little bit, you got to feel as an umpire you're doing a pretty good job.
Mm-hmm. Reds come in, of course, having lost a season-high 9 consecutive games. They're 10 games under 500, 7.5 behind Milwaukee in the National League Central. 3-1 on Gennett, and it's fouled out of play. Meanwhile, for these Rays, you know, they've been pretty much what you see is what you get. It's pretty interesting. The Rays are 3.5 games out of first place. You have the Yankees and Boston locked in a virtual tie. And right now the Rays hold the second wild card position, with New York or Boston holding the first. Yankees have lost 6 straight games. Swinging a foul ball back out of play. Scooter needs a new batter, maybe some pine tar to put on it. Or Scooter had a big home run in yesterday's game. The Reds tried to come all the way back from an 8-1 deficit, and Gennett made it an 8-5 game with a 3-1 home run in the 7th inning. Reds would get 2 more in the 8th to make it a 1-run game, but that would be the margin of victory for the Los Angeles Dodgers, who went 6-0 against the Reds this year. And there's ball 4 to Scooter.
Pretty good at bat by Scooter. He fouled off a number of pitches, but watching the starter Jake Odorizzi, you know, he's not a guy that has a lot of tricks out there. He pretty much throws that 4-seam fastball up. And for you that really love the numbers and the sabermetrics and the trending and so on, the analytics will tell you that he's got great backspin on that 4-seam fastball. Gets a lot of pop-ups from that. But he'll also miss out of the zone. So if you foul off enough, you'll maybe find your way to first base.
Joey Votto, the batter, at 304, 19 home runs, 51 runs batted in for Votto. First pitch swinging a drive down the left field line, and in foul ground over to get it is Corey Dickerson. So a lengthy at bat by Gennett, but first pitch outs in the at bats to Hamilton and now Votto. We take a look at the Rays defensively, presented by Ford. Dickerson having a huge year offensively in left. Smith runs very well in center, but not considered a good defender. And Souza Jr. in right. Longoria, Tim Beckham, Daniel Robertson, Logan Morrison off to the best year of his major league career at first. And there are whispers that Derek Norris may not be long in a Tampa Bay uniform this season, with the imminent return of Wilson Ramos as early as perhaps this week. Down on a rehab assignment right now. And here's Adam Duvall. He takes ball 1. The Rays are the only team in baseball that has spent the entire season to this date so far within 3 games of 500. So they've never been more than 3 under. They've never been more than 3 over, and they've been there all season long. Runner goes. Gennett is out at second base to end the inning. A scoreless first for the Reds. Rays are coming up. 1 of 3 at Tropicana Field. Milking out storyline. What about the history of these two teams? 5th series meeting of all time. Reds have won 3 of those 4 and 9 of 12 the games overall. First time the Reds have been down this way since 2011. And the Reds have won 5 of 6 at Tropicana Field. There are a lot of Reds fans here. There is so much history with the Reds franchise in this greater Tampa area. Of course, forever, the Reds called Tampa, Florida their spring training home. Then they would move shortly down the road to
Plant City,
Florida, and then to Sarasota, Florida, and before moving to, of course, Arizona. So a lot of folks donning red here tonight. Kevin Cash, the manager of the Rays, and we look at his starting lineup. The speedy Smith will lead it off. Dickerson's having an unbelievable year. Longoria third. Morrison has 21 home runs. Souza Jr. in right. Beckham behind him. Then Plouffe, they just picked him up from Oakland yesterday. Robertson and Norris. Scott Feldman on the mound, and he misses ball 1 to Malik Smith. See the numbers presented by Mazda.
Start number 15 for Feldman. He's been very, very good at times, and not really all that bad, but I mean, there's a lot of times he's in between, like his last start out. Got the loss in a 6-2 loss in San Diego last Tuesday. Gave up 4 runs in 5 innings. Location and the curveball, 2 keys for Scott Feldman.
Smith waves through that pitch. This guy's getting a chance to play regularly, and he's making the most of it. In 19 games, he has a .420 on-base percentage. And he can run.
You know, Smith is the kind of player you look at and you say, boy, I love his tools. He can run. He does a lot of things right. He's yet to become a real good defensive outfielder, tracking the ball. But, you look at all the transactions that are on his rap sheet already, in just a short period of time. Acquired by the Rays here in January from the Seattle Mariners.
But he comes in hot right now. 10-game hitting streak. It has been better than a .400 batter during it.
Still a young player for a guy that has been traded around a lot. He was drafted twice, did not sign when he was first drafted by the Brewers in 2011. Then eventually drafted 5th round 2012 by the Padres.
Now tipped into the mid of Tucker Barnhart, and that's a strikeout for Feldman.
Feldman's got a little run on that fastball, and you can really see it from the center field camera. Good look at it right here as he starts at outer third and then just dives away.
Feldman will now turn his attention to Corey Dickerson. Dickerson's lost a lot of weight from when we saw him early in his career, and what a year he's having. Leads the American League with 91 hits. He leads the American League. Think of that. All American League players. And think of all the names that pop into your mind when you think of American League sluggers. Dickerson has 38 extra base hits. And only Aaron Judge of the Yankees has more total bases than does Corey Dickerson.
Well, Dickerson is probably one of the best bad ball hitters in all of baseball. I mean, he chases things that no other player would even think about swinging at. In fact, he's had a base hit already this year on a ball that bounced before it got to the plate. But he is somehow able to turn those bad pitches into good hits.
2 balls and a strike on Dickerson. To the right side, right at Studer Gennett. And that takes care of Dickerson, and the first 2 set down by Feldman in the first inning. Take a look at the Reds on defense, presented by Ford. Tucker behind the plate tonight. And with the trip to the disabled list for the Reds regular shortstop Zach Cozart, we'll see a lot of Peraza playing there. And I would imagine we'll see Gennett get most of the playing time at second, although perhaps we'll see some Alcantara as well. Longtime Ray, Evan Longoria, been bothered by a terrible case of plantar fascia so far this year. 10 home runs, 38 runs batted in, a .253 batter.
Well, he's a guy that, has been synonymous with the Rays ever since he was drafted first round, 3rd player taken overall in 2006. And he's been also a player that's been very dependable. In fact, he only missed a handful of games over the previous 4 years, despite, nicks and bruises that come along the way. So he's a guy that answers the bell. Had a good year last year when he hit 36 home runs. That tied a career high for him.
See those 251 home runs. It's interesting to note that Longoria, along with the Tigers' Miguel Cabrera, the Brewers' Ryan Braun, and the Blue Jays' Jose Bautista, are the only active players that have hit 250 or more career home runs with their current teams. So not many of those guys hanging around for a long time in one city.
You remember, it was Longoria that signed just an incredible contract from the standpoint of the length of the deal, a 15-year deal. He signed 2 years after he was drafted in 2008.
Peraza to pirouette, and that'll take care of Longoria in a 1-2-3 opening inning for Scott Feldman. Reds baseball on Fox Sports Ohio, brought to you by Chevy. Check out their award-winning lineup, only at your tri-state Chevy dealer, and by Skyline. Feeling good. It's Skyline time. Well, naturally. Rays tank out there in straightaway center field. We're at the home of the Rays, Tropicana Field in St. Petersburg, Florida.
Yeah, they were originally named the Devil Rays.
Yes.
Because the Rays that you saw out there, I don't know exactly what kind they were, but a Devil Ray is actually a particular type of ray, a sea ray, but it's just huge. And they had a naming contest when this franchise first originated down here, and there are all sorts of suggestions. There were the history of the Tampa cigar factory, so they wanted to call them the Tampa Smokers or the Tampa Tarpons, and they ended up calling them the Devil Rays.
And then you start getting into the whole thing where people thought that having the word devil in the name was not a good idea, so they switched out of that, and I'll be doggone if they all of a sudden didn't win the American League East and went to the World Series. They went to the playoffs again as East champions in 2010. 11 a wild card, 13 a wild card, and no trips sent. Look out. That ball, I don't know what happened there. The communication between the second baseman and the first baseman, but Morrison stayed with it and made the grab.
What did the second baseman, Daniel Robertson, say? Let me see how many times you can turn around and still catch a pop-up.
It's like that game you play where you start spinning around. Then
you put your nose on the bat and you spin around.
Third baseman, number 7, Eugenio Suarez.
You can get back in your car and drive, sir.
That'll bring up Eugenio Suarez. We're scoreless in the second inning. Glad to have you with us here tonight on this Monday night. We'll have game 2 of the series for you tomorrow night on Fox Sports Ohio. No TV during an afternoon game on Wednesday. And then when you look at a Reds schedule, you'll see the Reds are playing over the weekend. We'll have all 3 games from D.C. on Fox Sports Ohio. But what your schedule will show is an off day for the Reds on Monday. Not so fast, as Lee Corso would say. The Reds have a makeup date in St. Louis on Monday for a game that was rained out the last time the Reds were in St. Louis. Of course, they went there twice in the first month of the season. Swing and a miss by Suarez. He's out on strikes. Scott Schebler to the plate.
Right fielder, number 43, Scott Schebler.
Schebler's average down a bit to the 240s at 249. He does have 18 home runs and 36 runs batted in. Had a tough day yesterday. He was 0 for 4. He was hit by a pitch with the bases loaded, so given credit for an RBI, but during the 0 for 4 game, Schebler struck out 3 times swinging. Odorizzi, the first 2 retired, and now quickly getting a foul ball, 1-1 to Schebler. A year ago, Odorizzi established career highs in starts, 33 of those, nearly pitched 190 innings. And gave up the home run ball a lot last year, 29 of them, which was 9 more than any other season during his career, and he'll go right by that number, at least in the neighborhood, for sure this year.
Well, home runs are up overall, so you got to figure part of the uptick is due to just league average and more dingers going on. The other part is that he pitches up in the zone.
That ball stalled it into right center field, and it will find the wall on a second hop. Schebler on his way to second, and now he'll slow down right as he hits a bag with a 2-out double. First Reds hit, first hit for either team tonight.
Boy, when he hits it on the screws, it really goes. You know, most pitchers say, well, I got that ball up. Odorizzi says, I got that ball down, because he wants to be around the top end of the zone, especially to Schebler. Although that may have been a changeup.
So a scoring chance now for the Reds, and they brought up their big-time prospect, Jesse Winker. Was brought to the major leagues earlier today. And Winker lifts a fly ball on the first pitch into left field, and that'll end the inning. Reds leave a runner in scoring position. And after an inning and a half, we're scoreless at the Trop. The energy, the Reds in interleague play. Now you're going all the way back before the Brewers joined the National League. The Reds beat them in one series 3 times. They've done very well, as we mentioned, against the Rays, and they've handled themselves nicely against the Astros. They've caught a break in that they have not played the Astros when the Astros have been the Astros, because they are really good now. Astros with the best winning percentage by far in all of Major League Baseball. And let's not forget, there are some teams in the National League West having great years. Colorado 20 over, Arizona and the Dodgers 18 games over 500, but Houston a whopping 22 games over 500. 46 wins against 24 losses and an 11-game lead over second place Texas. Here's Logan Morrison. Saw him start his career with the Marlins. Left from there and hit 14 home runs a season ago, and he has flown right by that number already this season. 21 of them so far for Logan Morrison. He didn't like the call on that check swing.
Well, I think hitters like it less when it's called by the home plate umpire rather than the umpire go to third for an opinion. But I'm not sure he ever did that. I think Tom Hine just rung him up right at home plate.
Feldman a 1-2-3 opening inning, now ahead 1-2 on Morrison, and the fastball sails wide.
Morrison's a big guy, provides a lot of power. 6'3", 245 pounds. Now 29 years old.
Those are the numbers we were talking about compared to a season ago. Going after every pitch. Morrison is not out of the batter's box, but adjusting both his batting gloves. We had a very interesting story today. I don't know if you saw it. 3-2 pitches, a rocket into right field, a base hit by Morrison. You know, one of our favorite writers for many, many years in baseball, I know one of yours too, Chris, is Tim Kirchin. Been around a long time, knows the game, loves the game, cares about the game a lot. And he wrote a story today about what baseball will look like in 30 years from now, 20 years from now. And there were so many interesting facets to this. Now, of course, he's not predicting all of those would be true. But one of them certainly was what we talked about yesterday, a pitch clock. And another thing was a batter never being allowed to leave the batter's box. And if they're in the batter's box, whether they're ready or not, if they're standing in it, the pitcher can pitch the ball.
Well, of course, you can't pitch the ball now, even if the batter is in the batter's box, unless the batter is ready for the pitch. That'd be a quick pitch. It's a legal pitch. A ball with nobody on base and a balk with runner on. Well, you know, you can do all those little things you want, but until you get the pace of play taken care of, you know, between innings, the number of pitching changes that you have.
And that was one of the things he talked about, that it would almost be like a timeout system during the course of a game where you would be given, say, 4 or 5 visits total in a game. And once they're up, you're done.
Yeah, that I don't know about, because you're really altering the structure of the game. I think you can speed the game up without altering the structure of it. But I'm interested to read every article, and I mean, every smart baseball guy, and Tim is one of those that I very much respect. You know, to take those ideas, and I'm sure they've all been banged around on the wall, and why not?
I mean, he got it all the way down to after when a batter strikes out, they don't throw the ball around the infield anymore. They just throw it right back to the pitcher, and the next batter gets up there in the box.
I think one easy way, that's an easy way right there, is you call the inside strike, is you get rid of walk-up music.
The shortstop, number 1, Tim Beckett.
Why, that's a strike, because Barnhart never even moves his glove, and Halligan is right over his left shoulder. Yeah, walk-up music is, I don't know how, if you took a vote of the fans who were at a ball game, could you do without it or not?
Well, I think we can all do without it. I think that what we're seeing is, though, is a lot of the millennials, you know, they're really into that kind of thing. I mean, if you start asking, like, I couldn't tell you one player on the Reds team, not one player with
since
their
Todd
walk-up song
since
is.
Todd Frazier's been
That's
gone,
right. But I mean, not one guy. And but I guarantee you there are a lot of younger Reds fans out there that they could probably tell you half the team, and certainly the majority of the guys that play on a regular basis.
All right, so those are the people that are at the ballpark. What about the thousands of people that are watching every night?
You're right. I cannot argue with you one single bit.
They have to put up with us talking instead of the walk-up music.
All right, well, since the Rays fans have no idea what Plouffe likes, we'll shut up when his walk-up music comes to right now. Base hit by Beckett. Doubt in on that?
Yeah.
All right.
Little mashup, wasn't it?
It should be mashed up. Here's Plouffe. Just added to the active roster today, making his Rays debut. Was acquired yesterday, 2 days ago technically, from the Oakland Athletics for cash. 8-year veteran, came up originally, spent the first 7 seasons with the Minnesota Twins, and then this year joined the Oakland Athletics. 2-on, and a fastball is high to go to 2-0 on Trevor Plouffe. This guy's got some pop now. 2012 hit 24 home runs for the Twins. A year later hit 22 home runs. And with Oakland this year at 7. Play will be at first base here for Feldman, and they'll get the second down. Runners advance. Logan Morrison on to third. And to second base goes Tim Beckham.
The second baseman, number 29, Daniel Robertson.
So with the designated hitter, there's not quite the strategy of what you might be thinking about when you're out there on the mound with a number 8 hitter and a base open coming to the plate. Robertson, a .216 batter with 4 home runs.
Daniel Robertson's getting some playing time because their normal second baseman Brad Miller is on the disabled list. This young man, though, 23 years old, is playing very well. Interesting. They will see what they will do when Miller does get back from the DL.
They've got 3 regular players right now that are on the disabled list. It would be otherwise in their starting lineup right now. And
of course, the big guy, Wilson Ramos.
No doubt.
They signed in the offseason. He injured himself with an ACL injury at the very end of last year in September. And he still has yet to play this year. Had off-season surgery. The Rays kind of took a shot at him on a 2-year deal, and his stock plummeted with that injury. But he could be a real difference maker, and they expect him to be back and playing within a week or so.
Yeah, they wanted him to catch a couple of days in a row, a couple of times in his rehab assignment before they brought him to the major leagues. He caught back-to-back games over the weekend, and he'll do it again this week before they bring him up as early as next weekend. 2-1 pitch down the right field line. Schebler giving chase. He'll get it. Nice play leaning over the wall, and that'll end the inning. Well done by Schebler. 2 hits, 2 left. We played 2, and we are scoreless. '30th through July the 2nd at Great American Ballpark, presented by Cincinnati Bell. Catch all the action for as low as $12. You can visit Reds.com. At next homestand, we'll see the Brewers and the Cubbies come to Great American Ballpark before the Reds will embark on a tough road trip. When the season started, you thought, well, might have some luck out there, and who knows, you still might. But Reds will be going to Arizona and Colorado for the last 7 games leading up to the All-Star break after their next homestand. Those are 2 of the top teams in all the National League, at least as of today, this June the 19th. Tucker Barnhart batting in the 8-hole, to be followed by Jose Peraza and then Billy Hamilton. High fly ball left field, easy out there for Dickerson. 1 out.
Shortstop, number 9, Jose Peraza.
Shortstop Jose Peraza, .258 batter, 3 home runs, 21 batted in, has 14 stolen bases. Peraza over the weekend. 2 of 7 against his former team, the Dodgers. He has a hit in 8 of his last 9 at a .324 clip. See what Peraza has done away from Great American Ballpark. Those are lofty numbers, spanning 17 games, nearly a .350 batting average. Of course, that has not been the story overall for his teammates. The Reds away from home this year have played 31 times. They have won 10 of the 31. 2-2 on Peraza. Further complicate matters, you may remember the Reds' first road trip of the year. They won 5 out of 6 games. There's a fly ball down the right field line. Foul ground, Souza Jr. Coming up Wednesday, the newest edition of Reds Weekly. Pete Rose goes from red to bronze. His statue unveiled over the weekend. Joey Votto talks about buying Zach Cozart a donkey if he makes the All-Star team. And what does the future hold Chris Welsh for Bronson Arroyo? All that on Reds Weekly, Wednesday at 6. Jeff Picoro and Doug Flynn. I'm not to say that any of us were shocked at what transpired in the Reds clubhouse yesterday regarding Bronson Arroyo. I think a lot of us were surprised that the veteran right-hander was able to keep under wraps cortisone injections he's been getting in his shoulder, because all we had heard was he was getting better and better and better from a health perspective.
That'll make you feel better. It sure takes the pain away, I'll tell you.
But boy, it hurts when you're getting it.
Yeah, and I'm not really surprised that he's had that. I mean, you know, he's got a 40-year-old shoulder that's pitched an awful lot of innings along the way. Surgery or not, you still have pain.
Billy Hamilton pops it up, but the inning is over.
I'm Jim Day, and expanding on that Bronson Arroyo, he basically said that it was checkmate with his shoulder. He told me today that surgery is not an option for him. Perhaps some stem cell use, but as far as being in the rotation every 5 days, that is over. He will be on the disabled list and will hang around with the team. He can certainly give advice to the young players, etc. He didn't rule out a spot start down the road if the Reds were in an emergency situation or even working out of the bullpen. But he's on the disabled list. They don't know where it's going to go. But when you read body language and kind of hear what he says, this could very well be the end of the line for him.
Well, it's still been an amazing career. It's been an extraordinary for a career for a guy who never threw 95, 97, 98 miles an hour. I mean, those are all the guys who are scouting now. Chris, you and I talked about that. I talked to a Babe Ruth League coach today, and those are the guys that are 17 or 16 and under. And a very accomplished baseball coach here in the state of Florida. Played a big tournament where a lot of scouts were already looking at some of these youngsters over on the other side of Florida. He was driving back today and telling me the only thing the scouts are paying any attention to at all starting at 16 is the radar gun.
Yeah.
That's it.
Well, that's a safe thing for any scout.
And of course, Arroyo would have never been one of those guys.
Oh, you wouldn't sign Scott Feldman based on his velocity tonight. You would never have had the 148 wins out of Bronson Arroyo, as you said.
Ultimate gamer. Great teammate. Good guy. Whatever happens, he's able to hang around here for a while, if nothing else, just to rub off some of his knowledge to his teammates. Teach him a little bit about being a pro, about taking the ball every 5 days. That'd be great. If he leaves, he's going to be fine no matter what he does. The same may not be said for Derek Norris. Here's a guy that they brought in during the offseason. He's had his very good moments in his major league career, especially out in Oakland. Now, they brought him into San Diego, didn't work out so well there. And now he's got some off-field issues kind of lingering over him. A situation involving his ex-fiance, and then you lump in that along with the numbers at 191. 8 home runs and 22 batted in. And, when they get Wilson Ramos back, will Norris be the guy exiting stage left?
Well, he went to spring training this year with the Washington Nationals, and they signed him in the offseason when they actually traded for him from the San Diego Padres, and they ended up releasing him about halfway through March. That's when the Rays jumped in and signed him to a deal.
Number 0, Malik Smith.
Boy, on those games where Scott Feldman puts up good numbers, goes deep into a game, holds the opposition down, that curveball is working well. He keeps it at the bottom end of the zone and is able to throw it for strikes. Of course, the fastball command usually happens on those same days where you have good curveball command. Because on those days, your delivery feels good. You feel like you're getting to a good release point every time. Your balance point is consistent. Looks like this might be one of those evenings here for Feldman.
Leadoff man Malik Smith struck out swinging, leading off the Tampa Bay first inning. 1 ball and 1 strike here. 1 out, nobody on. We're scoreless last of the third. 2 hits for the Rays, 1 hit for the Redlegs. And Feldman going to work a 1-1 pitch. Breaking ball in there, strike. Smith keeps showing bunt. He's not offered to bunt at any of the 3 pitches thus far. Although he does have 4 bunt hits in a very short amount of time. We mentioned he's only played in 19 games. The 2-2 delivery. We'll do it again. I tell you what, this is one franchise that they better pray that a pitch clock never gets put in to Major League Baseball. We've been here 3 innings, and I haven't seen a team like this anywhere close to it all year long. Of course, we haven't seen Boston yet either. 3 balls and 2 strikes.
Well, I guess it all comes to a screeching halt when Boston plays the Yankees.
Well, it does. They have the longest average time of games than any 2 teams by far that play each other over the course of a regular Major League Baseball season. But I can promise you one thing. If the Rays had more guys that could hit, like the Yankees and the Red Sox do, they'd be right there with them. So now you got to keep an eye on Smith. He can run. 5 of 7 in stolen base attempts. And for Smith, that extends his hitting streak now to 11 straight games. That is the longest by a Ray this season. And it is a career high for Malik Smith.
Well, he has had as many as 88 in a season in the minor leagues. Got a big lead already.
Sure does.
And Votto took a couple of steps now, and he's back on the bag. You don't see him on the bag all that much. Normally, Votto, when he's playing first base, is a couple of steps off the bags towards second. He's there to be able to apply a tag.
Straight up in the air.
Keep your eye on it.
That hit the catwalk, didn't it? Or did it fly over? There is a catwalk, 2 of them in fact, that are reachable and semi-regularly hit inside of this ballpark.
There are all sorts of local ground rules that cover the catwalks and the cables and the lights and the suspension and everything else that's going on up there. There are essentially 4 rings that go around Tropicana Field. They call them A, B, C, and D. And the A ring is the smallest ring at the very top. It's really not hittable, they say, but sometimes I think there have been 2 balls that have actually hit the roof here. But the cables are all in play up there between A and B. The catwalk's in play if it's fair or foul.
Runner goes, throw by Barnhart is in time to cut down Malik Smith. So Tucker Barnhart gunning down Smith. Give you one more look. Through 3, no score in St. Pete. What a throw there by Barnhart. Of course, that's commonplace for Tucker Barnhart.
Well, he does things so fundamentally correct. I mean, watch the footwork for Barnhart. That's where it comes. He gets his left foot right in front of the other, gets himself right on line, and a quick tag right there. Boy, from this angle, it looked like it was awfully close. But the throw him out to end the inning.
And the Rays deciding not to ask for a review. That's Vic Carapazza, the umpire at second base. All right. 13th time this year Barnhart has gunned down a would-be base stealer, and that's more than any other catcher in the league. And that's interesting, of course, because Barnhart, ever since Devin Mesoraco returned, has not been a regular catcher day in and day out. In fact, his playing time has gradually dwindled more and more and more.
Well, percentage-wise, Tucker Barnhart has the highest stolen base percentage caught of anybody in baseball. He has given up 12 stolen bases, and he has gunned down 12. Just a lot of that has to do with the cooperation of your pitcher.
Yeah, you've been on record as saying many times you think that is a really misleading statistic, at least on many levels.
Yeah, and I also think the other statistic about catchers that's misleading is the number of errors that they have, because they throw the ball over the second base bag, and the second baseman tries a real quick tag, and the ball goes into center field. And instead of getting out there and blocking it, you know, the runner goes to third base, the catcher gets the error.
Be the first out in the inning, so that was a fly ball to Dickerson. Scoreless game. We're in the top of the 4th.
Votto jumped on the first pitch he saw last time up. We'll see what happens here. If he's going to be as aggressive here against Odorizzi.
That was a very classy move over the weekend. Talked to Joey about it for a few minutes after we landed last night, when he acknowledged the return of Joe Zerhusen, the public address announcer at Great American Ballpark, who's been battling cancer, and Joe's missed the last couple of homestands. And when Votto was introduced for the first time by Joe Z back in the saddle on Friday night, Votto looking up to the booth where Joe sits and acknowledging and saying, "Welcome back." Everybody certainly felt the same way. Stung into right field, a base hit by Votto, this time on the second pitch of the at-bat.
First pitch was a little bit higher. Second pitch, Odorizzi's trying to get it in there, and you see that ball tail back right out over the plate.
And Votto able to really roll his top hand. Man, oh man.
So now Adam Duvall, he popped up to the first baseman Morrison, leading off the second inning. Duvall, a much better batter this season with runners on base. He's done a lot of damage with a home run ball when the base is empty. 10 of his 16 home runs being solo shots, but a very good batting average when runners are on base. Of course, he led the entire major leagues in runs batted in during the month of May, 28 of them. That was more than any other Reds batter going all the way back to 2011. Jay Bruce knocked in 33 runs in a calendar month. Straight up in the air. Here it comes back down. 2 away in the inning.
Well, normally, you know, when you would say, well, there it goes up in the air and here it comes back down. Well, duh, no kidding. But here, this ballpark,
That's gravity, right?
Yeah, that's
science.
I think that's what they called that.
All right.
But at this ballpark, sometimes that doesn't happen.
Number 7, Eugenio Suarez.
I'm starting to ask you, do you think that pop-ups are hit the same height here as they are everywhere else? They're just much more fun to watch in here because you don't know what's going to happen to them?
Well, you can't see them half the time.
Right.
And that's one of the things that makes it very difficult for umpires to, you know, judge these balls. Fair, foul, when they hit up there off of a cable or the catwalk, because the roof is somewhat white. Outfielders have a, you know, if you come in here as a visiting player, you have to make sure that you never take your eye off the ball, because once you take your eye off the ball, then look back up. If you've got a blue contrasting sky like you normally do on a day game, for instance, or a night sky at home, ball's beautifully illuminated. But here, you have a tendency to lose it.
Of course, no more famous venue than that, than the Dome in Minnesota, where who could forget, you know, in 87, then again in 1991, where pop-ups were lost or misplayed. Looking up into a dome, similar color as this, perhaps even a little brighter than this one, aiding the Twins in winning both of those World Series. Was it Lonnie Skate Smith out there in left field, if I remember right? Remember him?
Yeah.
Good player.
He's a very good player.
But
even better when he could stay out on his feet.
That's exactly right. He had some problems in the Metrodome. Of course, no more concern about that. Now you're just dealing with all the elements they have at Target Field in downtown Minneapolis. 2-2 on Eugenio Suarez. Odorizzi has fan one, walked one, and has allowed 2 base hits. He has Votto at first with 2 outs here in the 4th of a scoreless game. And a 2-2 to Suarez. That one will reach the seats. Down there by Billy Hatcher. Of course, this ballpark for Billy is familiar turf. Spent 10 seasons in the Tampa Bay organization as a roving minor league instructor, a minor league coach, and wound up for 8 seasons on the Rays major league coaching staff. Starting with our good buddy who we saw tonight, Tampa-born, Tampa-bred, Tampa-raised Lou Piniella, who's back in the Reds organization. And there's strike 3 called to Suarez, which will end the inning. Second strikeout of the game by Odorizzi. No score after 3.5.
Subscription to @Bat Premium, the #1 app for live baseball. Visit MLB.tv for details. Billy Hatcher, not only the third base coach for the Reds, but the outfield instructor. And they spent a good part of before the game taking some fly balls in this Tropicana field that has a white roof. And Billy Hamilton, that fly ball that he caught over the last inning, came off the field and said, I didn't see that ball at all. There's no way that I could play here on a regular basis. And Hatcher also went over the ground rules with them in a special meeting that they usually don't have. The outer 2 rings, hits them in fair territory, automatic home runs. Inner ring, you have to play it off, and it's in play. So there was a lot going on for the outfielders today, which they normally don't do.
The last park that presented a similar type of challenge was the park, Chris, you called home for a while in Montreal. Old Olympic Stadium.
Yeah, the color of the roof, though, was drastically different, and it was a lot easier to pick the ball up. But there were some speakers that would be in play.
Yep. Longoria ground ball down to third base, and that's out number 1 here in the 4th. Nothing affair between the Reds and the Rays.
You'll take a 1 pitch out against Longoria any day.
Logan Morrison, a sharp single in the right field, his first time up. The Reds will put the shift on him, playing 3 infielders in between the first and second base bags as Peraza moves over. And they'll put Suarez, who, of course, came up to the major leagues as a shortstop, basically at the shortstop position here. Ball 1 on Logan Morrison. Understand we're going to give you an update on Homer Bailey making 1 more rehab start tonight. And will that be his final rehab start before rejoining the Reds, possibly, if all goes well, as early as this coming weekend in Washington, D.C. Breaking ball, and a good one by Feldman, in there, a strike. San Diego's jumped in front of Chicago 1-0, that game at Wrigley Field after a half inning of play. Keep you up to date on some of the other games going on around baseball tonight, especially those involving National League Central Division teams. And in the second inning, Milwaukee, a 1-0 lead over the Pirates. Brewers continue to be the division leaders. 5 games over 500. Chicago 2.5 back. The slumping Cardinals are now 6 games under 500. 5.5 back. St. Louis off tonight. Another guy, Chris, you've been very high on, who's pitching relatively well for the Brewers so far this year, is Matt Garza.
Half of that's true.
All right, for more on Homer Bailey, let's go back to Cincinnati to hear how he's doing tonight in his minor league start. All right, Brian, thank you very much. So, pretty good news here on Homer Bailey.
Expect to see him this weekend.
Oh, yeah. The Reds need him. And they need some of the other guys to get back, although neither of the other two who were for sures, if you will, in the Reds starting rotation going into the year. Finnegan, of course, started the year in the rotation before getting hurt, Brandon Finnegan. But he's nowhere close to being back. He's already on a rehab, but not as far along as Bailey. And DeSclafani, nowhere close. That one lined into right. It'll fall in a hit. Morrison turning the corner. He'll go to third. And the Rays have him at first and third in a scoreless game with 1 out after the hit by Souza Jr.
Now, these last two batters were really all the offense the Braves had yesterday when they laid it on the Detroit Tigers. Souza had a home run yesterday, a grand slam home run, and the batter preceding him, Morrison, had 2 home runs. So here they go, walk, an opposite field base hit.
Number 1, Tim Beckham.
First time the Rays have had a runner at third base.
And here's Tim Beckham, who's been really hot with the bat of late. His overall numbers aren't all that great. They're not bad, 283. But man, when you start adding in his RBIs, his home runs, all 10 home runs have come as a shortstop. Only Francisco Lindor and Carlos Correa have more home runs. Correa's the only one, however, who can match his combination Beckham has of homers and RBIs. In the month of June, he has been a .340 batter. On the corners with 1 out and Feldman ready. And he hits Beckham in the hand.
I don't know exactly how they called that. I'm wondering if they called that he actually swung at that pitch. If the ball hits you anywhere on your body but you swing at the pitch, it's a strike.
Yeah, it didn't look like he swung at it.
No, it didn't from here, no. Definitely got him on the hand.
Well, what a blow this would be for the Rays as
Now,
well
the
as this young
scoreboard,
man's playing.
They've listed it as a strike.
Yet the runner at first is standing at second.
Well, it's a strike dead ball. So I think that because he's at second base, that it's not an issue except for Beckham, whether he's hurt himself to the point where he can't stay in the game. He just came off the disabled list, if I'm not mistaken. That's when he got hot after he returned in June. Compiled I think about 5 or 6 multi-hit games in the first 12 games in which he played.
Well, this is a hit batter. It was not a swinging strike. So they are loaded. Beckham will stay in the game for the time being anyway. And now it'll be Trevor Plouffe. He bounced out to Feldman. His first at bat as a Ray in the second inning. was just designated for assignment by the Oakland A's last week. Got off to a great start. I mean, second week of May, this guy had 6 home runs and 12 knocked in, but over the last 23 games, only a home run and 2 RBIs, and they decided that was it. 1 out, bases loaded, no score. Ball 1. Ball and 1 strike. Bases are loaded with 1 out. Just off the outside corner, 2-1. Dangerous count here. Already a dangerous situation with the bases loaded. A walk to Morrison, went to third on a single, and then Beckham hit by a pitch to loaded the bases.
Well, the old Ray Miller advice comes into play right here. You throw your best pitch, you take a little bit off, and you throw for a low strike.
3 balls and a strike to Plouffe. Here it comes. Bouncing ball to third. There's one. The Reds will turn it over, and Votto, the nice pick on the other end. Feldman gets a big double play. That's a good play by Votto there. That was not an easy throw to handle. A short throw from the second baseman, Gennett. What a time to roll up the double play to keep it scoreless as we go to the 5th.
But with 3 righties going and the designated hitter in this series, it's giving Jesse Winker exactly what he's been waiting for.
My first start tonight, so I'm ready to get it going. You know, we get another first out of the way, and I think this is the last one to check off the list, right? First start. A couple other things too. Yeah, a couple other things. Yeah, a couple other things too, I guess. But yeah, we're building it. How about that? So. But yeah, you know, I'm looking forward to get it going, and can't wait. And it's cool that we're in Tampa too, because my family gets to come watch again. So.
He's got his mom and dad here over from Orlando, and was hitting well at AAA. And Brian Price said, "Hey, this is not a charity case. We really think this guy can help us in the lineup, particularly in that DH role in this series."
All righty, Jim Day, thank you very much. He'll bat second here in the inning. And by the way, Beckham has left the game. Taylor Featherston takes over at second base, and the second baseman Robertson moves over to shortstop. If we hear anything from the Rays clubhouse, we will let you know on the condition of Tim Beckham. 0-0 game, top of the 5th. Schebler, Winker, Barnhart, the scheduled trio of Reds batters. Reds have 2 hits, Rays have 4. Schebler's first time up, doubled to the right center field gap. He has struck out 2. He's walked 1. His walk came the second batter of the game. And a 2-ball, 2-strike count on Schebler's up and in.
You know, Odorizzi, I mentioned it a couple of times tonight, is a guy that pitches up in the zone, has a lot of backspin on his fastball. Now, How that happens, I really can't tell you from a biomechanics standpoint. Some guys are good down in the zone. They have less backspin on the ball than they do when you pitch up in the zone.
That had some backspin on it.
Yes, it did. A long home run by Schebler, number 19, and the Reds have a 1-0 lead in the fifth. Well, you talked about it, Chris, when he hit that double in the right center field in the second inning. When this guy barrels up the bat, it goes a long way.
Number 33, Jesse Winker.
Well, that is a short, compact swing. It's a good man, too. I mean, Schebler's always got an upbeat attitude. You know, he's smiling. He's interacting with his teammates a lot. I mean, he just looks like he's going to be a really good and solid major leaguer. It's easy to say, was he leading the league in home runs? I mean, it's easy to say that right now, but I mean, from you take away that particular statistic and you add all the other stuff up, he's still a really good player.
Winker, a pop-up in a short left field. That's 2 of those tonight for Jesse. And that's the first out here in the fifth inning. Tell you what, he has stayed very, very thin through all these years. You know, normally the way teams have guys in the weight room, Chris, talking about Winker.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, most of the time, if you're in the minor leagues for 4 or 5 years, and Winker has been, normally you come up and you're built like Schebler.
If your body can accept it. I don't know whether Winker's body is that body type. You know, he had a good, you know, he's doing statistically very well down in AAA. He was hitting .317, had only a couple of home runs. So his home runs are not his part of the game, and plus Louisville is a big ballpark. But he has walked more than he has struck out, which is one of those statistics that kind of jump out at you when you look at, you know, batting stats. On base percentage was very good, up around 400. So overall, the OPS, I mean, is something that you like about Winker down there. He's like, man, I was just a little bit late. I thought I was on it. And they're talking about how Odorizzi throws that ball up. Schebler says, well, Odorizzi and I have an agreement.
Yep, they do. To quote our old friend Al Oliver, he throws it and I whack it. Here's a fly ball into left field.
One of the best ever.
Oh, no doubt. We had all kinds of lines. We've talked about that before. Our good friend Bob Brenly used to tell us those stories when he played with Al Oliver, and said at the end of every meeting, when they would go through the starting pitcher they would be facing that night back in the days with the Giants, they would always save Al Oliver for last. And Frank Robinson, the manager, would say, well, Al, what do you think of Odorizzi? And every night he'd finish it up with, well, let me tell you, we got an agreement. And then he would go into whatever line it would be. It would be, you know, he throws it, I whack it. He throws and he ducks. He throws and he backs up third. I mean, there are all kinds of lines that Al used to break out on. Al's watching right now, no doubt, chuckling.
Oh, man. Scoop. And it goes without saying he belongs in Cooperstown.
Yep. Guy could.
Man, could he lay out some line drives.
Yep, really hit. Go look up his numbers.
Pitchers didn't like pitching to him because he hit the ball back through the middle so often. On pitches that you didn't anticipate. Sometimes when you're pitching and you let a ball loose, you realize immediately upon that ball coming out of your hand, that's got a chance of coming back. But Oliver would hit them back at you on pitches that you didn't think that were coming back at you. A little bit of an inside-out swing. It would always fool you.
Thus his line, he throws it and then he ducked. Jam shot roller to the shortstop, and this will end the inning. But the Reds are on the board. Long ball by Mr. Schebler. Fired up back in Iowa. Schebler puts the Reds in front 1-0. By Cincinnati Children's, changing the outcome together. And by your local Ford dealer, Ford. Go further. We always send out a special hello to those watching over at Cincinnati Children's tonight. Hope you're having a great day and even better day ahead tomorrow. Thinking of all of you. So Robertson now the shortstop. Will be followed by the number 9 hitter, the catcher Derek Norris, and back to the top of the order with Malix Smith. The Reds have a 1-0 lead on the Schebler home run in this 5th inning. Schebler has 2 of the Reds' 3 hits, a double and a long one. Now Feldman got into trouble the last inning, a 1-out walk to Morrison, who went to third on a single by Souza Jr. Then he hit Beckham, who since has had to leave the game. Rolled up the big double play to end the inning off the bat of Plouffe. Kept it a 0-0 game. Good play up there in the front row.
Didn't spill a drop.
Nope.
One-handed grab. Full beer in the other hand.
It's a big league play. It's a veteran. Youngsters don't make that play. Go on swinging. Is Robertson. That's 4 of them now for Feldman. Pitching good ball game here tonight.
You know, under the radar good ball game. That's really the way Feldman is. I mean, he doesn't overpower you. He has a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and all of a sudden, you know, you're sitting in the opposing dugout on one of his good games, and you're looking up and like, geez, what happened? A comfortable 0 for 3, comfortable 0 for 4.
I mean, look, the Reds knew what they were getting with Feldman. He's a guy that'll give you a couple of good starts, and he'll have a flunker. You know, you just look at his last 2 starts. 5 innings, 8 hits, 4 runs. His last outing, a loss against San Diego. Started before that, 7 innings of 4-hit shutout baseball without a walk in a win over St. Louis. We've seen him go a complete game. That was against the Giants. Had a 4-hit shutout in early May. He's had games of 6 innings, 1 run against Cleveland. He's had some nice games this year, but he's also had some games not so good. Giving up other starts where he's allowed 7, 5, 4, and 5 innings. Peraza. And the runner is safe at first, Norris. Well, it seems like Peraza, every play he makes to the glove side as a shortstop, he feels like he has to pirouette.
He has some problems on the glove side, even at second base. We've seen a number of times him moving towards first base and shallow right field and not being able to make that play. And it's usually the balls that are up above his waist. Kind of an odd thing, but that's the trend that we're seeing.
It's an area of his game I'm sure he'll continue to work on.
Still a young kid, 23 years old.
Freddie Benavides, I mean, talk about a guy that could pick it as a shortstop back in his playing career. He would be the guy that would be asked to help Peraza day in and day out getting better defensively.
Well, I mean, he's really helped Eugenio Suarez get better.
Yeah.
And I think it's just a matter of time and repetitions. I mean, that's fielding, infielding, footwork. That's all fundamental.
Straight up in the air. This will be playable for Suarez. You know, that old shortstop thing is going to be an interesting position to watch in the next few years for the Reds. Now, in the immediate future, Zach Cozart went on the disabled list today. We all know he's a free agent at the end of the year. Most people believe the Reds will not re-sign him for the kind of money that would probably, you know, be fair market value for Cozart, especially when you take into consideration his age. Anything is subject to change in that regard. The Reds may decide they want to keep him. He's been a good player and a good leader. But when you start looking another year or two down the road, you start saying, okay, do you move Peraza over to short? And all of this starts with, you know, Nick Senzel, the #1 pick from a year ago, being able to continue to move up the ladder. It's hard to believe he has not been moved this year and that he's not playing in Double-A yet. But other people make those decisions. But would they move Suarez back to short if Senzel comes up to third? Who knows? Time for the Unlimited Baseball break, brought to you by T-Mobile. Players of the week announced today. Jose Ramirez of the Cleveland Indians. Look at those numbers. Goodness gracious. And then Jacob deGrom. Monday a complete game. Sunday 8 innings, no runs, and hit a home run against the Nationals. That's the one guy that's managed to stay healthy. All those ballyhooed pitchers in the Mets organization that they brought up together. Harvey was the first to arrive, and he's had more than his fair share of ups and downs, along with some injuries. And you know about Syndergaard. He's on the DL at least till after the All-Star break, if not longer than that. But deGrom getting it done. Anyway, you know, to get back to that shortstop thing, and you know, but we got to the final break. The Reds have also signed a couple of young Cuban shortstops.
Correct.
And so, look, I mean, at the end of the day, you know, we're talking about it here in June of 2017. What difference does it make? It's all just speculation. But these are the kinds of decisions that an organization at least has to start from a macro standpoint looking at as it moves forward and makes decisions on players if they want to sign them. Because, look, internally there will be discussions on whether the Reds should sign to a pre-arbitration contract a guy like Suarez. Now, whether or not they make the decision to do that remains to be seen. But Suarez is the kind of player where he plays every day. Thank God he's had great health. He's getting better and better. He's going to be a numbers guy. I mean, there are going to be home runs. There are going to be runs batted in. There's going to be batting average. This guy is a good player. He's a hard-working player. He wants to get better every day. So before you start thinking about signing a guy like him to one of those 4-year deals, say like they did with Mesoraco 3 years ago, you've got to be able to say, okay, what's our long-term plan with him? Is he going to be our third baseman? And then what happens if Senzel comes up all of a sudden within a year and a half after you've just given Suarez that deal? Do you talk to him about a possible move to short? Do you talk to him about a possible move to a corner outfield spot? Hamilton draws a walk to lead off the Reds' 6th inning.
Well, if they can both hit, you're going to find a place for them to play.
Sure.
I mean, we recently, when we had Pete Rose in the booth, you know, they talked to him about a move from what, third base to left field, or left field to third base
within 5 days.
Yeah, it wasn't a possible move. Sparky Anderson went to him and said, this is what we need you to do. We need to make space for this guy named George Foster.
Yeah, and he said this was on a Monday, and he said, well, when's that? Sparky said, I'm thinking Friday.
So, yeah, I mean, for me, Tom, these prospects, no matter how good they are, no matter how much money you have invested in, they have to show me that they are better than what you have in the
You're
league
right
level.
at that.
And Suarez is only a couple of years older than these prospects that are coming up right now, including Senzel. So Senzel may be, you know, the next best thing, but let's let him show us that first. And he's on his way.
Kind of.
I think the same goes for the shortstops that the Reds have recently signed, Cuban free agents. You know, first you have to get them acclimated to the United States and acclimated to professional baseball over here, but hopefully, you know, there's a tough decision to make because you have too many good players. I can't tell you without seeing any of them play on a long-term basis, but who's good and who's not. That's a stolen base lead for Billy, I can tell you that. And they are looking in the Rays dugout to see if they want to replay. Tom Foley, former Red, and sure enough, they're going to take a look at it. That must be kind of an interesting conversation between the runner that might have been just picked off and the first baseman that got him. And the first base coach that yelled back, but just a moment too late.
All three giving their opinion of what they saw.
You know, it is interesting, though, because that's the one area. Of course, you'd rather have a first baseman to be able to hit number one. But defensively, first base is made for left-handers. There's no question. Easier throws across the infield, especially to second base, better throwing lane, and that swipe tag at first base on a pickoff.
Well, when you get the two best in the league for a long, long time, and they kind of, you know, overlapped one another. And it's interesting because one was the other's idol. The two best for a long time were Keith Hernandez and the other Mark Grace.
Defensively at first base, there's no doubt. And
safe. See Billy saying, I told you I was safe. And Logan says, come on. So the call stands.
You know, I know betting in baseball is illegal, but
it is?
It would be interesting to have a little wager down there between Billy and the first baseman.
Well, they could bet on.
What do you think?
They could bet on.
I bet you pizza, though.
Yeah. That'd be no big deal.
All right, then pay up.
Well, you know, from the looks of both of them, it looks like Morrison likes having a pizza every now and again a little more than Billy does. Am I right or wrong on that?
You're right about that. But
I mean, one guy's going 165. Would you say Morrison was 240?
245.
Pardon me. Not to do math in public, that's an 80-pound spread, if I'm not mistaken, right? I think they have Billy listed at 165.
I'll tell you what Billy does do. I don't know whether he eats pizza, but he loves when his mother comes up in Mississippi, when the Reds have a long homestand, and she cooks him all the food that he was used to growing up.
Great food. Comfort food, that southern food you get so frequently with the collard greens and the red-eyed peas, and I mean, it's just as good as it gets. 2-0 on Scooter Gennett. Black-eyed peas. And as he said on Mother's Day, she makes him a whole big pitcher of Kool-Aid. And dumps a whole bag of sugar in that bad boy. How we looking? Gennett drives one into deep left center field. And this ball is gone for Scooter Gennett. Golly day, what this kid is doing is just extraordinary. He had 14 home runs all of last year. That is his 9th so far this year in fewer than 150 at-bats. 145 to be exact.
It's when he does this that is the amazing thing for me. He takes a high pitch and hits it the other way to nearly the deepest part of the ballpark. On that 4 home run game, he hit one to center field, one to left, one to right center, and then one to right. Man.
Votto taps out. That is the 3rd straight at bat that Votto has swung at the first pitch in the at bat. First time he made an out. Second time he had a foul ball. On the second pitch he got a base hit into right. So in 3 at bats tonight, Votto has seen a total of 4 pitches in the game. So rare for Joey.
That's only the 2nd ground ball out off of the Rays starter tonight, too.
You know, Gennett's another guy who presents the Reds with a, I'm not going to call it a dilemma. I mean, you love having good players. You want as many as you can get. Now, this is a guy who's been around long enough where he's going to go to arbitration. He would be in line to get a significant raise at the end of the year. I mean, what this guy is doing, and now with Cozart on the disabled list, and it's a trip 10 days to the disabled list. We'll see if it turns out to be 10. But the way Gennett's going, he's going to play every day for the next 2 weeks. I mean, look at that. 47 at-bats in the month of June, and he has 19 batted in. The only player in the league with more is Nolan Arenado, who hit for the cycle yesterday. Hey, by the way, did you see that note about hitting for the cycle at Coors Field?
No.
Yesterday was his 17th time a player has hit for the cycle at Coors Field. They started playing, if you remember, at Mile High Stadium in 1993. And then a couple of years later, they moved into Coors Field. So it's been around, I believe, since '94. "17 times a player's hit for the cycle at Coors Field." And this was a home run to end the game, which capped off hitting for the cycle by Arenado coming against the Giants. And then the big celebration at the end of the game where they thought he got hurt. But anyway, the only other ballpark that has served up 17 times a player hitting for the cycle is Fenway Park. Well, we know Fenway Park's been around for a while. And already Colorado has tied Fenway for the most times a player has hit for the cycle.
It's amazing.
Base hit by Duvall, keeping this inning rolling. 1 out. 2-0 on Eugenio Suarez, and the Reds have a 3-0 lead trying to end a 9-game losing streak, the longest skid in the major leagues. Giants are the only team in the same galaxy having lost 6 straight, so too have the Yankees. Ball 4. 2 walks in the inning. Votto looks like he's out of steam.
That's exactly what it looks like.
Jim Hickey, the pitching coach, will come trotting out. Boy, Hickey hadn't aged a day, and he's been around forever. You may remember, as a very young man, he was given the pitching coach's job with the Houston Astros. That's back when they had some really good teams. And Phil Gardner was the manager. Went to a couple of National League Championship Series and 1 World Series.
Right fielder, Scott Schebler.
Yeah, they got to pitch right out over the plate. Did Scott Schebler down just a little bit. We've seen pitchers try to pitch him up in the zone a lot to see if he'll chase up and away. But if you miss down, he can hit it a long way, which he did. That was the first run of the Reds game that came in the 5th inning.
2-1 for Schebler, this time straight up in the air. And room for Norris. First time they've retired Scott tonight.
Designated hitter, Jesse Winker.
Now the kid from down the road in Orlando, Florida, Jesse Winker. And for those of you wondering, yes, Jesse Winker already does have his first major league hit. He was with a club you may remember earlier this year. He had a pinch hit single against Milwaukee on the 15th. His first career hit and a run batted in. It was a 2-run double off Carlos Torres. He has popped up twice to left field tonight. His first career hit went for a game winner and for extra bases. Last player to do that in a Reds uniform, ironically, was a pitcher, Brett Tomko, who had an extra base hit, his first career hit, that proved to be the game-winning run batted in. Tomko did it in '97. Winker beaten on a fastball up, pops it up to retire the side. But 2-run big fly from Scooter Gennett. Reds lead 3-0. Rizzo and the Chicago Cubs, Great American Ballpark, June the 30th through July the 2nd. For tickets, visit Reds.com. Scooter Gennett, a 2-run home run in this 6th inning. And a 3-0 Cincinnati lead. Rays bat against Felton. 3, 4, and 5 in the batting order. Longoria, Morrison, and Souza Jr. In the air left field. 1 pitch, 1 out.
We talk a lot about the curveball from Scott Feldman, but tonight the location of that sinking fastball has really been perfect for Feldman. He's got a lot of outs by the ground ball, 5 outs ground ball so far tonight. He's using that little sinker 2-seam job to really mow through the Rays lineup.
Well, good news for the Rays, just a bruise. X-rays negative on the hand of Tim Beckham, who had to leave the game earlier after getting hit by a pitch. Young man playing the best baseball of his career. Now Feldman has not retired Morrison tonight. He has a single in the right field and has drawn a walk. Jeff Piccolo standing by in Cincinnati for a game break. The Reds' next opponent, the Washington Nationals. We'll see them on Friday night. And of course, that'll be a reunion for the Reds to see their one-time manager, Dusty Baker, who helped lead the Reds to the playoffs 3 times in 10, 12, and 13. Morrison gone swinging. Well, how about the Nationals and the Marlins, Mr. Pecoro?
Everybody get up, it's time to slam now. We got the real jam going down. Welcome to the Space Jam.
Right fielder, Steven Souza Jr.
Space Jam.
All righty, thank you very much, Pick. Miami 7 games under 500. Nationals big lead in the NL East. This one high and deep into left field, and hit a stinker up there, and it's in play.
No,
It's a home run.
Ring number 3.
Yep. Souza knew it.
Well, he hit a grand slam yesterday. The home run ball has been coming easy here over the last few games for Steven Souza.
That's second baseman Taylor Featherston.
So when it hits at what in essence is the 3rd level up there, right?
Yeah, they call them A, B, and C.
Yep.
They start at the very top, and this hit number C. So if it hits the catwalk in fair territory or a speaker or a light, it's a home run. If it hits D, which is out beyond the outfield fence, it's also a home run. But if it hits A or B, they're in play.
So a 3-1 ball game after the home run by Souza Jr.
So Duvall did the right thing. He got the ball back
Yep.
into Suarez, and he tagged the runner as he was jogging around just in case.
You never know.
Kind of like that little play that happened yesterday. That was, I can't remember who hit it, but it was the ball that got stuck under the fence, and Yasiel Puig
Yep.
put his hands up.
It was Joey, I think.
And I saw Charlie Relaford, who's one of the umpire supervisors, down here at the lower level earlier. Tom, looking for you, by the way. There,
I saw him.
Charlie, a good man from Ashland, Kentucky.
Yes.
He was explaining to me what the lodge ball rule was, and he also went through a thorough description of what the ground rules here are. Good to see Charlie.
Good guy. Said he misses the field. He had a back surgery that did not go well apparently a number of years ago. And said he still misses being down there. Balls, 2 strikes on Featherston, his first at bat since taking over after Beckham was hit on the hand with a pitch, and gone swinging is Featherston to end the inning. 6 strikeouts in the game for Feldman. The home run by Souza Jr. makes it a 2-run game.
On the disabled list today, but he did get some good news in that the All-Star voting, well, he spread his lead out over Corey Seager of the Dodgers. Look at the numbers. May 30th, he was trailing. June 5th, barely trailing. Took the lead on June 12th, and then the latest round of results listed today, a more than $321,000 vote edge for Zach Cozart. Voting goes through June 29th. It would be his first All-Star appearance.
It's great stuff. Great news, Jim Day. Thank you very much. Hopefully Zach will be all healed up. Well, you know, there's no way in the world that you know, you get a chance to go to an All-Star game for the first time that he wants any part of having to miss that thing. That'll be down in Miami this year, the All-Star game, 88th Midsummer Classic.
Well, that's the other thing to remember for Zach Cozart is that he is a free agent this year.
Yep.
And you want to keep the numbers going. You want to continue to show baseball that you're a top-level caliber shortstop, and he's shown everybody that defensively over the years. This year it's offense going too. So a lot of things important, and I'm sure that leg that he aggravated trying to beat out an infield hit yesterday, as I recall, he was out by just a hair. Let's hope that that's able to heal quickly and come back as strong as he was when he went on the list.
Teodorizzi hanging in there. He might be pitching with less than his best stuff tonight, but the bottom line is he's only allowed 3 runs and 5 hits, and here we are in the 7th inning, and he's still in the game.
Yeah, National League or American League game, normally that's good enough to keep you in the game. But he finds himself down by 2.
Reds have action in their bullpen for the first time. Now just getting up and beginning to lightly throw is Michael Lorenzen. I'm sure they'll give Feldman the way he's going. He's only allowed 1 hit over the last 2 innings. That was a home run a moment ago. Other than that, he is throwing the ball exceptionally well tonight. Sure, he'll get a chance to face a latter third of Plouffe, Robertson, Norris in the bottom of the 7th, and we'll see where we are thereafter. In fact, there's no debate about it. Lorenzen's not going to be ready to come in the game if the next 2 batters are retired rather quickly. He's just playing catch. Somebody told us there was one other place. Remember that? We were on the road recently, and I had made the comment that
well, San Francisco, right?
Yeah, that's what it was. We were in San Francisco. That's what
and
we
forgot about Tampa Bay.
Yes. We knew Oakland did.
Yeah.
We forgot about Tampa. We haven't been here since 2011. Well, it makes you wonder in the grand scheme of things about the entire future of this franchise here. You know, they need to do something clearly about the stadium issue. You know, attendance is generally year in and year out among the lowest, if not the lowest, along with Oakland in all the American League. It's a ballpark that was basically built all the way back in the early 90s in anticipation of one of any number of major league teams trying to leverage their way into a new ballpark. The one that got the most play was the Giants moving here. If you can believe that. That's going back to when the Giants were playing at Candlestick Park. They had a stadium referendum which had failed for the 7th or 8th time. Bob Lurie was the owner of the team at the time for the Giants. They could not get a new stadium. Was talking about moving the San Francisco Giants to Tampa, Florida. Sold the team to Peter McGowan, the heir to the Safeway grocery store chain empire, along with other investors. They found a way to build AT&T Park, and now it is one of the jewel franchises in Major League Baseball.
Sell out every night.
Yep. Hamilton keeps trying to bunt his way on.
Well, you know, again, he's got to get good at it, and the only way you do get good at it, you do in game, but you have to put the fundamentals that you practice with into play, which is keep your feet solid in the box and your head still until the bunt is down.
I mean, look, I'm not saying anything out of school. I mean, again, it's not being negative. It is just a statement of fact. Hamilton is not a good bunter. I mean, we watch this guy play baseball every day for the last 3 years. And he's just simply not a good bunter as it pertains to bunting for base hits.
Well, he hasn't really tried that often. You know, I know they track it. I just don't know where to find it. What your batting average is when you attempt to bunt. I'd like to see that on Billy Hamilton.
Well, you know what?
I'm wondering if it is as good or worse than his overall batting average of 248.
But see, here's the thing. I'm not disputing what you're saying, but I think that's one of those stats, like also what is your batting average when you swing at the first pitch in an at bat. It's a little bit misleading. Because let's say he comes up his first 2 times up, tries to bunt, and fouls it off and it's a strike. Well, it doesn't go as an attempt. It's not an out or a hit. It's not taken into account in your batting average when you're going and looking at what his batting average is when he bunts. They only count it when you put it down. And there's a swing and a miss to win the inning. At the College Advantage Family Catch. Register today at reds.com/catch. Last of the 7th inning here at Tropicana Field in St. Petersburg, Florida. My, oh my, how this area has changed over the last number of years.
For the better.
Yes, in this downtown St. Pete. Boy, it's so nice. And that was not the case less than, what, about 7-8 years ago.
Like a lot of cities.
Yep.
You know, there's been a kind of a migration from, you know, the suburbs in back towards downtown. It's a beautiful downtown, right on the water.
Yep.
On Tampa Bay, not on the Gulf of Mexico. Right down the street from Al Lang Stadium, which used to be the spring training headquarters for the St. Louis Cardinals, and now a fully devoted to the Tampa Bay Rowdies, their MLS soccer team. Uh-oh, that really got him. Yep. Well, you could hear it all the way up here. Tom Hallion.
And Tucker Barnhart, a courtesy visit to the mound, giving Hallion a second to recover.
Look how he's exposed right there. I mean, that gives you the best look, but it also gives you the least protection. That got him right on the shoulder.
It's where you miss those big chest protectors they used to hold up in front of him in the old days. That would take the blow for this kind of shot.
You know, you were talking earlier about seeing Charlie Relaford and him saying how much he misses being back on the field. I wonder when he sees that, how much he misses. Those aches and pains and those black and blue marks that could last for weeks.
I mean, look at all those guys down there laughing. Hallion has a great sense of humor. And he had everybody standing around cracking up and smiling when the trainer must have hit a spot, didn't feel too good. I wouldn't be surprised if they make a change here.
They're checking his left arm. Of course, it's his right arm that's an umpire's important arm. That's the one you call the strikes with. He's staying in there.
It's a veteran. It's a gamer. Look at him. All smiles back there behind the mask. Been around a long time, Tom Hallion. Listen to him on a strikeout, though. Hallion has one of the great calls. Oh, yeah.
He gives the whole body twist.
Been around since 1985. Or number 20 during his entire major league career. 60 years young is one Tom Hallion. Worked a couple of all-star games, multiple division series, League Championship Series, and a World Series. Went to the University of Buffalo in the left field, a base hit. But you know, the Hallions live in Louisville, Kentucky.
I did not know that.
Yes.
The shortstop, Daniel Robertson.
He knew, I think, that his leash is very short. Talking about Scott Feldman. He gives up that leadoff hit here in the 7th inning, and out comes Brian Price. You've got a pitcher hot and ready in the bullpen, and it'll be a 6-inning effort for Feldman tonight, and a very good one.
Indeed it was. 6 hits, 1 run so far allowed by Feldman. Strikes out 6, walks a batter, hits a batter. And this will be our Skyline Chili call to the bullpen. Hard throwing Michael Lorenzen takes over. Excellent outing by Feldman. American League for Feldman, and how well he has historically pitched against these Rays. You saw the 7 starts coming into the game today. very, very good, and those are the numbers tonight. Excellent again for Scott Feldman.
Really mixed it up well, Feldman did. Only 1 walk, 6 strikeouts. He does have 1 runner at first that Lorenzen will keep an eye on, and now that he has taken over, down to the bottom of the lineup.
See the numbers on Lorenzen. He's been really good. Leadoff man aboard. We're in the 7th, and the Reds have a 2-run lead. So this is coming into a tight spot now for Lorenzen, perhaps Peralta and Iglesias. Although I'm sure the Reds would love to just use Lorenzen for the 7th and the 8th and have Iglesias take care of business in the 9th. We'll see. Robertson went around on the appeal to first. 0-2. Straightaway center field. Hit a ton. We are tied.
The young but very big second baseman or middle infielder, now he's playing shortstop, gets a hold of this breaking ball and just takes it right out the big man's part of the ballpark.
Well, what a shame for Feldman. You give up 1 hit to start the 7th inning. 1 hit. You get the hook, and bam, no win.
Well, again, it's just proof right before your eyes that wins and losses for a starter really can be one of the more misleading stats out there.
It's like you talk about all the time, though. You know, the guys that hang around the games longer give themselves a better chance.
Well, you got to have cooperation of more than just yourself out there. I think with the way the Reds bullpen has been, you know, I'm not second guessing Brian Price and going to the bullpen right there.
Number 0, Malik Smith.
Rays now the official home run kings of Major League Baseball so far this year. Top 3 teams in the American League, 2 in the same division. To the first base side, Lorenzen, nice athletic play, scoops it up, makes a tag.
Pretty good form by Smith, though. He bunts it and then he runs. He bunted it probably to the wrong guy. Lorenzen is very athletic, as you said, quick off the mound, like cat-like quick. Look how quickly he gets over there. Really, when you're bunting against a right-handed pitcher, it might be better to push the ball down the left field line, third base line. Against left-handed pitching, that's when you want to pull it into first base because the pitchers fall off one way or another.
Feldman in 6+, gives up 6 hits, charged with 2 earned runs. 1 walk, 6 strikeouts, hit a batter in a no decision, but an excellent start on the left for Scott Feldman. 1 ball, 1 strike on Dickerson. It's too bad. You know, you do start to wonder a little bit, and this is something we've talked so much about, of when or if all of the innings being gobbled up by this bullpen start to wear on the bullpen. We've seen recently where Wandy Peralta has not been nearly as sharp as he was for Lorenzen. Now this is the 3rd time he's been scored upon in his last 4 outings. We saw Iglesias scored on in a couple of outings. Here's a ground ball to second. That'll end the inning. But the home run ball to tie it sends us to the 8th in a 3-3 game. Odorizzi goes 7, allows 3. No decision for him tonight. And now taking over, hard throwing left-hander Jose Alvarado.
He's a young guy too, only 22 years old. Is Alvarado, young man from Maracaibo, Venezuela.
His average fastball velocity is 98.2 miles per hour according to StatCast. His max velocity has been 100.5. But he starts off Gennett with a breaking ball.
How about that?
He's a guy, according to many who see him regularly, where there's not a lot of movement with that fastball. So from time to time, he's a guy that's been hit. But for so young, and that's what we're talking about. Gennett shoots one straight down to third base line, and he has a double to begin the 8th inning. Good solid contact there by Gennett.
Oh, really impressive. I mean, you really got to wonder. I don't know what went on in Milwaukee in springtime with Gennett and the Milwaukee Brewers, but I mean, he has been nothing but a model citizen, a hard worker, and an ultra productive player ever since the Reds picked him up basically off the waiver wire. Now, he wasn't a complete free agent. The Reds were on the hook for his salary, but still, they paid nothing except his salary to get him.
Now Joey Votto, another left-handed batter. And a base hit into center field, and the Reds have recaptured the lead. Gennett will score, double and a single. And just like that, the Reds back in front.
That didn't take long at all. 2 fastballs turned right around. You know, I really believe, Tom, and we mentioned this a little bit over the series with the Los Angeles Dodgers. It's not the speed of the fastball, it's who it's coming from, and how close you are to home plate, and how much movement you have on that ball, etc. And I think the quest for simply finding the hardest throwing pitchers out there is something that baseball in a few years are going to look back on and say, what were we doing? I mean, he is right over the top and shows it to you all the way. Now, at 22 years old, is there a prospect in him? Absolutely. Would every ball club out there love to have a kid left-hander throws 100 miles an hour? Sure. But throwing hard alone is not the key. Who did we see? Josh Fields in there yesterday throwing 98, getting hit all around. Then they bring in Kenley Jansen throwing 96 and blowing everybody away. How do you figure it?
We've heard everybody who knows anything about baseball say it for a long time. But apparently it doesn't get to enough people out there. The best pitch in baseball is still the well-located fastball. And there are more and more guys every day that are throwing 97, 98 and have no idea where it's going. And the guys throwing 90 who could put it on a dime aren't getting the same chances. Now, you know, ultimately, if you buy into the survival of the fittest sort of thing, perhaps it'll all play out that way and come back around again. We'll see.
Be the guy with the who can put a 3-2 slider on the corner on the knees.
For a 3-2 fastball in the corner. There are many of those guys around.
Well, the Rays had Jumbo Diaz up down the bullpen throwing, and he looks like he has taken a seat. They've gone to another right-hander down there now. Danny Farquhar.
That's all for Alvarado. He's averaging 98, didn't retire a batter.
Authority of the Cincinnati Reds. It may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Cincinnati Reds.
Danny Farquhar allowed runs in 4 of his last 9 outings. Was off to a very good start, but now has inflated that earned run average a bit. He comes in with 2 on, none out, a run home. The Reds a 4-3 lead. We're in the 8th.
Farquhar came over here a couple of years ago in a trade from the Seattle Mariners.
And that one will get away from the catcher, Norris. And both runners will advance. Norris has taken a lot of heat, not only for his lack of offense since coming over, but he leads all catchers in errors and pass balls.
Well, he didn't really get his body over there at all. He just looked like he was just simply slow to react. Wild pitch all the way because the ball was in the dirt. But with a couple of runners on base, you like to see a little more bodily effort.
So the infield drawn in with nobody out. Suarez trying to add to this lead and fouled out of play.
First few years in pro ball, Danny Farquhar was like that ball in Pong. He was drafted by the Blue Jays, and then he was traded by the Blue Jays to the Athletics. Then the Athletics traded him back to the Blue Jays, and the Blue Jays released him, and the Athletics picked him up off waiver wire. And eventually got out of that circle and went to the Yankees.
That's a big strikeout right there. First out of the inning. Swing into Summer tomorrow night. More interleague action. The Reds and the Rays. Reds Live starts at 6:30. Swing into Summer on Fox Sports Ohio, and Fox Sports Go is presented by Click It or Ticket.
Intentional walk to Schebler.
Schebler will be intentionally walked. So Jesse Winker will bat with the bases loaded and 1 out. Winker has been beaten 3 straight at bats on fastballs, and he's popped them up twice to left and once for the shortstop. None of the 3 would have scored a runner from third base that have been hit so far tonight. But it's money time now for Winker. He left 2 on in the 6th, and money time is right there. Hooks one into right field for a hit. Here comes a second runner. He will score, and a 2-run single by Winker, just called up from the minor leagues.
Boy, that's got to be just so satisfying for Jesse Winker and so many family and friends, I'm sure, that came up from southwest part of the state to watch him play. Well, he was late on everything he seemed to see against Jake Odorizzi, the starter, but he was right on time with that line drive.
And it continues now for Tucker Barnhart. All 3 runs charged to Alvarado, who did not retire a batter. He allowed double, single, walk, and that was all for him. And all 3 of those runs have come in to score. Tucker tonight 0 for 3, 2 fly balls to left and a ground out to first. You know, outside of their closer, and you talk to the people that see the Rays day in and day out, they really don't have anybody down there that has a defined role outside of the closer, Alex Colomé. Now, late in the game, a left-hander. You know, the only one they have down there is the one we saw a moment ago, Alvarado. But ultimately, they'd love Tommy Hunter to become that setup guy. Certainly the most experience of anybody down there. And they have Jumbo Diaz in their bullpen. Jumbo. It's a fly ball into center for the second out of the inning. There's Jumbo.
I saw him last night. Good man, Jumbo is.
Yep.
Number 9, Jose Peraza.
Jumbo in 24 games is 0-3, has a 4.6 ERA, but has worked 3 consecutive scoreless appearances since coming back off the disabled list with right arm fatigue. So now Peraza will take first. Boy, this bullpen has just melted down before your very eyes here.
Center fielder, Billy Hamilton.
Now Billy Hamilton with the bases loaded. Billy, the 9th man to bat in this inning. Danny Farquhar has the bases loaded. And the Reds have scored 3 times after the Rays had just tied the game. 1-1 to Billy Hamilton. 0 for 3 has walked and scored a run. Fly ball to left field. This will end the inning. But a good inning for the Reds. They come up with 3 to break the 3-3 tie. On the game summary, Schebler got the Reds on the board. Scoreless game in the 5th with a home run to right. And then Gennett made it a 3-0 lead with a 2-run home run in the 6th inning. 3-1, Michael Lorenzen came in with a man aboard, allowed a 2-run home run to tie the game by Robertson. But then in the 8th, Gennett led off with a double. He would score on a single by Votto. The Reds would get a 2-run single by Jesse Winker. And lead by 3 as Lorenzen takes the ball here in the bottom of the 8th inning. Popped up short right. Schebler will track it for the first out here in the 8th inning. Well, the Reds, just in case, have Raisel Iglesias throwing down in the bullpen.
Boy, has it ever been a very quiet night for the first 3 hitters in this Rays lineup. 1 hit out of Malik Smith. That was an opposite field base hit. Other than that, nada.
They got a piece of Tucker Barnhart. They got him pretty good. He is hurt. Right on top of the knee. Lorenzen giving Tucker an extra minute. Tucker saying, come on, let's go. Saw him give the sign out there to Lorenzen. Get on the hill and let's get moving. 0-1 to Morrison. And 0-2. You can tell Lorenzen is one of those guys that has really bought into the whole workout program. I mean, there's muscles on top of muscles with Lorenzen. Bottom fell out of that pitch. Second strikeout for Michael, 2 away in the inning.
Now back-to-back breaking balls. This one a good one right here. Starts at the lower end of the zone and then drops down into the dirt. That's the kind of spot where you put that pitch when you got 2 strikes on the hitter.
Souza struck out, singled and homered. Hit the home run to left field in the 6th inning. Jorge Weissel already loose. Ready to go. He's been up since this inning began. He will attempt to pick up his 13th save of the year. If it's a lead of 3 runs or less for the Reds in the bottom of the 9th. Who knows? The Reds score 2, 3, 4 runs in the top of the 9th. We might see Blake Wood cranking it up. Gennett will handle the 2-hopper, and Lorenzen works a perfect 8. Ohio brought to you by Kroger. Stop by your neighborhood Kroger to save big store-wide. Great food, low prices at Kroger. By Cincinnati USA Regional Tourism Network. Stay close to CincinnatiUSA.com, and by Toyota. For over 30 offers, visit buyatoyota.com. Toyota, let's go places. Cheer on the Reds. They take on the Cubs Saturday, July the 1st at Great American Ballpark. Arrive early. The first 20,000 fans through the gates receive a poster featuring the 2017 Reds Topps baseball cards. Thanks to Barbasol. For tickets, visit Reds.com. What a night it's been for Scooter Gennett. And it looks like the first of many starts coming up for this young man. After being primarily a backup player this entire season with remarkable production in the amount of playing time, he has still not reached 150 at-bats for the season. Think about that. Most of the regular players are up over 250. Gennett's not at 150, and he has 9 home runs, 9 doubles, and 37 runs batted in.
It's an RBI once every 4 at-bats, isn't it?
Gennett has as many RBIs as Scott Schebler. He has 1 fewer RBI than Eugenio Suarez. Those guys play every day. We talked about Adam Duvall. He has more runs batted in than any left fielder in the National League, right? He has 11 more runs batted in than Gennett. Votto, the team leader, with 52 after he broke that 3-3 game with a single an inning ago, plating Gennett, 1 out.
First baseman, Joey Votto.
Now Votto, 2 of 4 in the game, a pair of singles, and the big one came in the 8th inning after the double by Gennett against Alvarado. He singled into center field to give the Reds a 1-run lead. They would tack on 2 more in the inning. All 3 runs charged to Alvarado. And that last single is our Miller time moment, brought to you by Miller Lite. Right back where it came from, the plate, Gennett. I don't know what's going on with Votto and the home plate umpire. There is something happening, though. I don't know if he said something to him about getting back in the batter's box, because Votto's been staying out of it for a long time during this at bat. And maybe Votto had something to say. Maybe it wasn't any of that. But there clearly was something going on between the two. And Votto just says, take that. 3rd hit.
Left fielder, Adam Duvall.
You know, Votto, the last 2 winners, has gone back to Toronto to live. For the last number of winners prior to that, however, he was living during the offseason down in Sarasota. So he probably has a lot of buddies in the neighborhood. There's a pop-up, or at least not too far away. What's Sarasota, about an hour and 10, hour and 20-minute ride? Less than that?
Right on it.
So I would imagine, you know, you make a lot of friends. You live somewhere for a while, one would hope, and maybe he has some of them up to see him here.
Your dad spends a lot of time down there on Siesta Key.
Yep, he does.
They've probably been.
But he doesn't have anybody coming up here to see him. We were hoping your good friend and mine would make it up, but I think he's too tired.
Oh, he's definitely too tired.
Talking about Eddie Schebler. Too tired to make it up. He was entertaining Bill Hemmer over the weekend down in Sarasota, and so I think they're all worn out.
It's like oil and water, isn't it?
Well, believe me. It's a lot of oil and a lot of water and a lot of whatever else. There's a swing and a miss to Suarez. Two down, 1-2 to Suarez. You know, we haven't heard much from Jim Day tonight. He wasn't feeling well earlier today. And from where we sit, you know, we have no idea where he is. Oh, that got a piece of Suarez. Yep. Hopefully he's all right. Well, there have been a few of those tonight.
Right fielder, Schebler.
That's what, the 3rd batter hit in this game. Beckham was hit by the Reds in the 4th inning. And now Peraza and Suarez in each of the last 2 innings. But Jim Day, where are you down there? Are you feeling any better than you were earlier today?
I am upright at the far end of the Reds.
Oh, there you are down. Okay,
dugout.
all right.
Yeah.
Nice to see you. I'm
Nice
a
to
little
be
worried
seen.
about you tonight.
I'm all right, hanging in there. Just caught a little bad food or something.
Okay.
It's a long night and day, but it's a big old hang with them.
All right. Well, we're just glad you're okay. And they're a strike to Schebler.
Well, you were sharing those chicken wings with Cowboy late at
Exactly
night.
right.
What do you expect? Only Cowboy can handle that.
Yeah, Cowboy's kind of like one of our dogs, Stella, who climbed up on the counter one night, ate about 2.5 pounds of raw beef. They say rush her into med vet. Doctor comes in, says we give him a shot. That will be out of their body entirely in about the next 20 minutes. We're still waiting. After about an hour-and-a-half wait, vet looked at us and said, old Stella's just fine. Head on home. That's a Cowboy.
So maybe Jim Day learned his lesson. You can't go into the big, the tall grass with the Cowboy.
No, you can't.
Not with the chicken wing.
No. Boy, this has come to a grinding halt here these last couple of innings in this game. Farquhar, and we were told that these Rays pitchers are very, very deliberate. There's a swing and a miss. 2-2 to Schebler. You got to start thinking about the people that are paying the money to come in to watch these games.
The problem is it's only a couple of seconds here and a few seconds there.
That's right. And it could be cleaned up quickly with some backbone and some rules to enforce it. I mean, here you go. I mean, that was a pitch. It was low and inside, and you're fixing batting gloves. You're in the box. You're out of the box. You're right. Swinging a foul ball. Runners were started naturally on a 3-2 count with 2 away in the inning. Reds with a 3-run lead batting in the 9th inning. 2 outs, 3 balls, 2 strikes. Here's ball 4. The ball got away from the catcher, and here comes Votto. He will score. So that'll be a wild pitch, allowing Votto to come all the way in from second base on ball 4.
Another reason why you don't want to go to 3-2. The runners are off, and this time Votto just never lets up. He gets a good lead and runs hard. Gives the Reds a little cushion.
Well, you look at Farquhar. He had a runner at first base with 2 outs in this inning. He hit a batter. He walked a batter. And on ball 4, the wild pitch, and the Reds have a 4-run lead. And now what to do with Iglesias? Apparently they're going to still bring him in the game, although it will not be a save situation now. Here's Winker. Jesse, a big 2-run single, taking a 4-3 lead to a 6-3 lead in the 8th inning.
Well, they had Storen down there also throwing, and I'm not sure. You know, there's a couple of philosophies about that as to once you get a guy hot, do you bring him in?
Tapper down to first. That's the inning. Well, we're about to find out. Reds get another run. It's a 4-run lead, 3 outs away from ending the misery of a 9-game skid. Game and every game on Fox Sports Ohio, presented by Ray St. Clair Roofing. Take a look to tomorrow when we get underway at 6:30. And the pitching matchup Amir Garrett coming off a solid effort. His last start in San Diego. And Alex Cobb will start it for the Rays. We invite you to join us. Our game coverage begins at 7.
Now pitching for Cincinnati, right fielder, 26,
And Rysell will come into the game.
Well, what you're hoping out of Rysell tonight is a nice, crisp 1-2-3 inning with a lot of strikes. Not one of these innings where you end up throwing 20 or more pitches and then you worry about using them, over the next few days. That helps.
Billy calling off Duvall, 1 out here in the bottom of the 9th inning. Of course, the last time the Reds won a game, you're thinking, hey, this team's starting to come together. They're starting to get on a nice roll. Remember that 4-game series sweep over the St. Louis Cardinals? The final game of that series was on June the 8th. The Reds had beaten the Cardinals 5-2. Iglesias nailing it down, the win for Feldman, but then they went out west. They got drubbed pretty good the first night. Had a couple of tough ones, including the game, the only blown save of the year by Iglesias in that huge Dodger rally, 9-7. Then just played terrible baseball in San Diego. Lorenzen had one getaway, the series finale. And they were just whooped over the weekend. They were dominated by Alex Wood on Friday night, got hammered Saturday, mounted an excellent comeback attempt from an 8-1 deficit, which turned into an 8-7 loss yesterday. 9 in a row. And now 2 outs away from putting that in the rearview mirror. 1 out away. The only hit Lorenzen allowed was a game-tying home run by Robertson, who bats now. Michael goes 2 innings, allows the hit, a run, struck out 2, did not walk about it. And he's in line for the win. Strike. 1-2 on Robertson. It has been a while, but Reds win. Reds win 7-3, the final here tonight. Perfect ninth, a pair of strikeouts for